Hello everyone, and welcome back to Stories with me, Jesse. Today's topic is a request from loyal viewer Trisha Smith regarding the accounts of people who have to argue with stubborn individuals just to do their job over at Reddit/idoworkherelady. Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments, and feel free to provide your own suggestions for anything I should feature in a future installment. Bring your proof of employment and perhaps an aspirin, because we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Queen Karen of House Dum Dum, Long May She Reign. Some backstory. I am a banker, but due to this whole COVID-19 situation, I work at a different location than my usual branch. I live in New York, and banking is still considered an essential service, so what my bank did was temporarily close the majority of the branches in my area, and those that are remaining open are open in 2 shifts. Team A, Monday to Wednesday. Team B, my team, Thursday to Saturday. Also, we now close at 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m., and the dress code, suit and tie, is no longer in force. Right now, I don't really do all my normal duties, so the majority of my day is just servicing clients, ordering new debit cards, help set up online banking, etc. We're also instructed to do servicing through appointment only, so people won't be sitting and waiting there. I also have to do traffic control. The teller line still gets pretty busy, and we can't have more than a couple of people inside the branch at any time, so I ask them to wait outside in line until it's their turn. Towards the end of the day, around 2:30, I step outside of the branch for a moment to take a few pulls of my vape, while a middle-aged woman walks past the line and enters the branch. I respectfully come up to her and tell her, "Ma'am, I apologize. There is a line outside for those who are waiting to do a transaction." She just looks at me and walks away from me and sits herself down in my office. By my office, I mean my workstation, since I am just at the branch temporarily and only on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. But I have been working from that office for almost a month at this point, so let's just call it my office. I walk in after her and ask her what she needed help with. She just looks at me and tells me to leave. I explain that I work here and this is my office, or at least I tried to. She just gets up, comes up to the teller, and tells her that I am harassing her because I think that she skipped the line. Makes a big thing out of it. The teller had my back and did confirm that I did work there and that was my office. She was expecting to see the person who usually sits in that office, but he only works Monday through Wednesdays now. I asked her again what she needed help with. Normally I would explain the whole situation on how it's by appointment only now, but tensions were already high, and we are trained to de-escalate when we can, so I thought it was something small I can just quickly help her with and not make things any worse. What happened next I will never forget for the rest of my life. She sat down in my office and told me she needed a new debit card. Sounds simple enough, right? Wrong. I asked her for her ID since we cannot change/add/order anything on behalf of the customer without verifying their identity. She said she left it at home and that I didn't need her ID since she's a regular customer. I apologized and said I can't do anything without ID. She then flipped out saying I don't know what I'm talking about, that she doesn't want to deal with me, etc. Bankers are allowed to help without ID only if they have had a consistent relationship with the customer for over a year, which the other guy probably did, so never asked for her ID. She then went on to scream on how I don't know who I am dealing with, and she has a lot of money here. She can have me fired. She demands that I do what she tells me. I'm a bit frustrated at this point, but I'm still at work, so I still acted professionally as best I could. I didn't want to get into it with her, and I just told her I am sorry, but my hands are tied. She walks out of my office, sits down on the chair outside, and starts waiting for another banker. I try to explain to her he is busy with another customer, and it's appointment only, but she won't let me get a word out. I pull that coworker out of that meeting with his client, and he reconfirms that she needs ID and couldn't wait there. She just stands up and walks out. Now, at the beginning of this story, I want to remind you that all happened after 2:30 and we close at 3. By the time she stormed out, it was closer to 2:50. After she stormed out and my coworkers and tellers wrapped up, we spoke a bit about it, and they told me she is always like that. Before we knew it, it was 3 p.m. and we began closing the branch, including rolling down the gate. At around 3:30, as the majority of my coworkers have finished their end-of-day procedures and have left, it was just me and a teller there finishing up. Next thing we know, Queen Karen is back, banging on the gate. She demands I open the gate. She got her ID and she needs a new debit card. I tell her I'm sorry, but the security system is on. I can't turn on the computers and open the gate. I tell her we are closed. She screams at me saying,
"No, you idiot! You close at 5 p.m. It's only 3:30.
I tell her we changed the hours on all open branches a month ago, and there is a sign on the door of the lobby and on the walls around where she is standing that show the new hours. I told her she can come in on Monday when the banker that knows her will be there and she can get done anything she needs. She then goes on to curse my life out. and then picks up one of the small metallic garbage cans and starts throwing it at the gate over and over while cursing and saying she's going to kill me and burn this whole place down. Guys, never do this in a bank. The security that even the smallest bank has is no joke. Next thing you know, the repeated throwing of the garbage can at the gate triggers our alarm, which puts the bank on lockdown and calls the police. The police arrive and our security team calls us to advise us on the procedure. A security rep speaks to one of the cops and says that we have footage of this woman damaging bank property, trying to break in, threatening arson, and threatening the life of a bank employee. This woman, as mean and crazy as she was, got arrested and in tears was put in the back of the police car, which I kind of felt bad about, but there are just some things a person should know not to do. Now, this lady was definitely crazy, but this is Corona 2020, and everyone is a little on edge. I didn't want things to escalate this much, but it was out of my hands. I have no idea what happened to her after that, or what she was actually charged with, or whatever, since I read that New York is dismissing certain cases as not to put people in jail to risk getting the virus. I'm not sure if it's a felony doing what she did in a bank, though, which is a federally regulated institution. What I do know is that we had to remain in the branch until our bank security team arrived. I had to meet with HR over the phone and write an incident report, and it just goes on. I spent all day today with HR as well. I'm not in any trouble or anything since security footage backed up everything I said, but this lady was something else. She thought she was queen of the world. Bank property and rules and even the law. She needed a new debit card, and that was worth getting arrested for. Man, that woman was entitled and crazy. I'll admit that tensions are high in the world right now, but come on. What on earth could cause her to throw a garbage can at a bank and threaten the life of an employee just because she wasn't smart enough to bring her ID with her? If you ask me, she kind of asked to get arrested, and I feel for the employee who was just doing their job. But what do you guys think? Let's talk about it below. Moving on, our next story is called, You Look Like You're 16. What makes you think you know anything about beer? So this happened about a year and a half ago when I was a bartender at a high-end restaurant. This isn't all verbatim, but the exchange is as good as I can remember it. I'd been working at this place for over a year, and had worked my way up to shift supervisor/bar manager and was 19. One day, I was sat up at the bar drinking with some of our regulars and a few colleagues that had the afternoon off, and a man came up to the bar to order. There was only one bartender working as it was after the Sunday lunch rush, and it was always quiet by that point. This bartender was new, and I just handed the shift over to him. He was capable of running the shift on his own, but hadn't quite learned the drinks menu. The gent that had just walked in to order started asking about the beers in a really snobbish manner, such as, "What are your Weiss beers? Which lager is the most crisp? And do you have any really hoppy lagers?" Basically, he was asking questions about any type of beer possible just to be complicated and sound like he knew his stuff. No one really comes in asking those types of questions if they don't have a specific flavor profile in mind. E.g., you only typically ask about Weiss beers if you want a weedy beer, you only ask about crisp beers if you want a refreshing lager, and only ask about hoppy lagers if you're into IPAs. Anyways, I overheard this and offered my own guidance as the poor new recruit was looking at me like a deer in headlights. I just ran through the menu and suggested the correct drinks for his questions, to which he just exhaled through his nose and outright said, "You're about 16 and shouldn't even be drinking here. What makes you think you know about beers?" I'm a polite person and I'm really not a fan of unnecessary conflict, so didn't offer any wisecracks or smugness. I just told him, "I heard you asking some pretty tough questions, and he started last week. I thought I'd help out as I'm off shift, and it's a good training point for him as I'm his manager." To which he joked about the new starter being old enough to be my dad. I'm not sure what he was trying to gain from throwing weak insults at a stranger, but my mind switched into work mode, and I just started listing off drinks on our menu like I was advertising half the breweries in Europe. I asked what flavor profiles he was after, if he wanted a light ale or a heavy lager, high ABV or low. If he was looking to eat, then perhaps one of the wines would be better suited if a heavy beer is preferred as the special was fish. I finished off with the, "Hey, can you pop staff discount on for this gent? It'd be nice to see him back here when I'm working." Proceeded to give him my till and walk him through the steps to apply it. Lo and behold, this bloke orders a pint of Carling because all the fancy beers were way too expensive. Imagine that, trying to show off to a bartender that you know more than them, and then ordering the cheapest beer on tap. I don't miss these types of guests one bit. Wow, that gentleman sure tried his best to act like a hotshot, only to settle on the cheapest drink once that bartender quite tactfully put him in his place. I love how they even gave him a discount despite his blatant rudeness and snobby behavior. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you'd like more stories from this subreddit. And one more shout out to Trisha Smith for suggesting that I add it to our lineup. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in with me, Jesse. What did you think of these stories? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. If someone insists that they work for the business that you're visiting, maybe, just maybe you should choose to believe them. Be happy, healthy, and have a beautiful day. I'll catch you in the next one.